What if the story of human evolution in Europe has been told in reverse? For more than 40 years, anthropology taught that modern humans, Homo sapiens, originated in Africa and gradually spread outward, replacing more primitive relatives like the Neanderthals. This idea, central to the replacement model of human origins, suggested a clean break between modern and archaic humans. Neanderthals, according to this model, were a dead-end species, cousins perhaps but not ancestors. But as the genomic revolution transformed anthropology, it became increasingly difficult to hold on to such a simplistic picture. New genetic data, fossil re-evaluations and insights into pigmentation genes reveal something far more profound. Europeans may be more Neanderthal than anyone previously imagined. They may not just carry fragments of Neanderthal DNA, we may be their direct descendants. This means European roots stretch back hundreds of thousands of years, and not only a few thousand years as we are led to believe. This is the idea suggested by world-renowned Harvard University geneticist David Reich.
It's not even obvious that non-Africans today are modern humans. Maybe they're Neanderthals who became modernized by waves and waves of admixture.
To understand the gravity of this argument, we must look beyond the simple statistic often cited. The average European has between 1.5% and 2.5% Neanderthal DNA. While this number may seem small, its impact is disproportionate. It's not the quantity of DNA that matters most, it's what that DNA does. In the case of Europeans, particularly those in the north, Neanderthal genes influence highly visible and functionally significant traits. These include fair skin, blue or green eyes, straight or wavy hair, red or blonde pigmentation, freckles, and even behavioral traits like vigilance, sensitivity to pain, and introversion. These are not trivial relics. They are the blueprint for an entire phenotype that defines many populations in Europe today. Today, advances in genetics, paleontology, and evolutionary biology have begun to unravel that narrative. DNA, extracted from ancient bones, along with new interpretations of fossil morphology, suggests a far more complex reality, one in which the line between Neanderthal and modern human is not a barrier, but a bridge. Rather than being exterminated, Neanderthals in Europe may have assimilated with arriving Homo sapiens, and rather than being mere relics, their descendants may still walk among us. Europeans, especially those whose roots stretch back into Ice Age Europe, may not be the successors of Neanderthals. They may be the Neanderthals transformed. The evidence begins with DNA. When the Neanderthal genome was first sequenced, scientists discovered that all non-African humans carry a small but significant percentage of Neanderthal ancestry, around 1.5% to 2.5%. But as researchers dug deeper, they found that this legacy wasn't distributed randomly throughout the genome. Instead, Neanderthal DNA contributes to specific traits that remain strikingly visible in modern Europeans. One of the most profound areas of influence lies in pigmentation. Genes like SLC24A5, SLC45A2, HERC2, and OCA2 play major roles in determining skin, hair, and eye color. The variants of these genes associated with lighter skin, blonde or red hair, and blue or green eyes have been strongly linked to archaic introgression, that is, inheritance from Neanderthals. These traits are most commonly found in Europe and rarely appear elsewhere. It was once assumed that they arose recently in Homo sapiens after entering Europe, but this is no longer the most plausible explanation. Instead, many of these features evolved in Neanderthals, who lived in Europe for over 300,000 years and adapted to cold, low UV environments long before Homo sapiens arrived. Why does this matter? Because it suggests that these traits didn't originate in modern humans at all, but were inherited from Europe's original inhabitants. Lighter skin helped Neanderthals and later Europeans synthesize vitamin D in regions with limited sunlight. Blue eyes and lighter hair followed similar selective pressures and may also have played roles in sexual selection. The point is not merely that Europeans carry Neanderthal genes. It's that these genes help define what we recognize as European phenotypes today. And pigmentation is only the beginning. Other Neanderthal-derived genes influence immune function, pain sensitivity, metabolism, sleep patterns, and even behavioral tendencies. Certain alleles inherited from Neanderthals have been associated with increased resilience to cold weather infections, as well as with psychological traits such as heightened vigilance and a greater sensitivity to environmental stimuli. These traits were not neutral leftovers. They were adaptive responses to the Ice Age world of glacial Europe. They helped infants survive in harsh climates, absorb sunlight, and endure the long, dark and cold winters. Crucially, the fossil record supports the genetic data. Fossils from the gateway to Europe dating between 60,000 and 40,000 years ago, such as those from Shandiar and Vindiger caves, do not represent archaic Neanderthals in the stereotypical sense. These individuals show a mix of classic Neanderthal traits, such as heavy brow ridges and robust skeletons, with more modern features like reduced facial projection and expanded cranial vaults. Their brain sizes were enormous, often exceeding that of the average modern human. These were not brutish relics. They were intelligent, tool-using, culturally sophisticated humans, possibly the very hybrids who gave rise to modern Europeans. Some researchers believe these late Neanderthals were already interbreeding with Homo sapiens. In sites like Grotte-Mandrin in France, layers of Neanderthal and modern human occupation alternate, suggesting not replacement, but long-term contact and coexistence. A modern human tooth found in a Neanderthal context there, dated to over 50,000 years ago, hints at a prolonged overlap, possibly spanning thousands of years, during which hybridization could have occurred repeatedly. Far from being a brief episode of contact, the merging of these lineages may have been a drawn-out fusion that reshaped the future of Europe. If this is the case, then the modern European genome is not the result of a new species conquering an old one, but of two populations blending into one. Instead of disappearing, the Neanderthals may have become us. Pigmentation genes offer perhaps the clearest evidence of this legacy. Take the MC1R gene, for example, which regulates melanin production. Variants of MC1R associated with red and blonde hair in modern humans have been identified in Neanderthal DNA. Likewise, the BNC2 gene, linked to freckling, reduced tanning and light skin, is another Neanderthal inheritance present in over 70% of Europeans. One Neanderthal haplotype in OCA2, a key gene for eye color, shows a regulatory mutation that reduces melanin expression, leading to blue eyes. This variant, now widespread in Europe, is thought to have originated in the Caucasus region over 40,000 years ago, precisely when and where modern humans and Neanderthals overlapped. This alone is revolutionary. It means that many of the physical traits associated with European identity, pale skin, light eyes, variable hair color, were not the product of a sudden transformation within Homo sapiens, but ancient adaptations shaped over hundreds of thousands of years in Europe's Neanderthal populations. It also changes our understanding of human variation. These traits were not mutations in the pejorative sense, but adaptive advantages. In a cold, dark Europe where ultraviolet light was weak and hunting required immense strength and coordination, these Neanderthal features were tools for survival. When modern humans entered Europe, those whose babies carried more of this Neanderthal DNA, either through interbreeding or selective pressures, were more likely to thrive. In this light, the European phenotype was not just shaped by Neanderthal ancestry, it was selected for because of it. Even beyond physical traits, there is growing evidence that aspects of European behavior and cognition may reflect this ancient fusion. For example, studies of genes involved in brain development and speech suggest that some Neanderthal variants influenced neurodevelopment. While the exact implications remain unclear, it's possible that the unique social dynamics and creativity of Ice Age Europeans, seen in their cave art, hunting tools and burial practices, arose in part from this blend of ancestries. So why does the outdated myth persist? The idea that Neanderthals were primitive creatures totally unlike ourselves. Partly, it's due to early reconstructions based on limited evidence. The stooped posture of La Chapelle-aux-Saints was due to arthritis, not subhuman anatomy, and the pigmentation theory is based on early assumptions, before genetic testing revealed the full spectrum of Neanderthal diversity. But more importantly, These myths reflect a deeper cultural bias. For generations, it was uncomfortable to imagine that modern humans descended from what was once labelled an inferior race. The notion of a clean break, a triumphant march of progress, fit better with Enlightenment ideals of reason and superiority. Yet science tells a different story. The deeper we peer into the genome, the more continuity we find. The European story, as with the Aboriginal, is not one of abrupt replacement, but of complex interweaving. The ancestral humans who shaped Europe were not outsiders who eliminated the Neanderthals. They were the Neanderthals, transformed by contact, mingling, and natural selection. This realization should not be alarming. It is profound. It means that European identity is rooted not in purity, but in hybridity. It means that what we consider modern evolved gradually, through adaptation and cooperation, not conquest. It also challenges simplistic models of human evolution that divide the past into them and us. In truth, there never was a strict boundary. There were only humans, shaped by their environments, meeting each other across time. And so, when we ask, are Europeans really Neanderthals that became modernized? The answer may very well be yes. Not in the sense of being unchanged remnants, but as descendants of a lineage that survived, adapted and reshaped itself over tens of thousands of years. Through interbreeding, selection and migration, the Neanderthal genome did not vanish. It lives on, in every freckle, every blue eye, every strand of red hair. The Neanderthals were not a separate people lost to time. They are part of who Europeans are today, and that may be the most important evolutionary story of all.
There's just extinction after extinction after extinction of the Neanderthal groups, of the Denisovan groups, and of the modern human groups. But the last one standing is one of the modern human groups. It's not even obvious that non-Africans today are modern humans. Maybe they're Neanderthals who became modernized by waves and waves of admixture.